Good evening, everyone. This is Winifred Winston coming to you from the GWCCAT broadcasting for the 5 o'clock news. Today I bring you the deer epidemic, which is an issue present in Maryland rural communities. In previous years, there has been a sharp incline in the white-tailed deer population, which has caused frequent damages to the environment, human lifestyle, and human settlement. So, the Animal and Plant Inspection Service has suggested a solution be found and has presented the idea to reintroduce the western cougar to the Maryland ecosystems. I'm here to show you today the impacts this solution will have on Maryland citizens and the research behind it. I have with me today local Maryland farmer Jebediah McClux. So how are you today, Mr. McClux?
It's Jaclux to you, friend.
No. Okay, so what is your take on releasing cougars back into the wild?
Well, those gosh darn deer have been a big problem for me and my farm for quite a while. Those deers are eating a plethora of my wheats, oats, and other crops, which has lowered my sales by a plethora. The large amount of deer that are in the environment require a lot of food that the forest cannot sustain for these animals. So they decided to take a visit down to Mr. McCluck's farm for an easy dine and dash.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. How else has the abundance of deer affected your family?
Well, my boy McClux Jr. was wandering around on hill yonder when he saw one of those gosh darn deer. He played stickball for hours with them, and when he came home, he had one of those body bugs on him.
Do you by any chance mean a tick?
Sure. Anyway, he had a body bug on him, and I couldn't find a way to get it off. So I let it stay on for him for 2 days until McClux Jr. started feeling fatigued and tired, and he had some terrible pain in his muscles. Without McClux Jr.'s, sales have been going down even farther due to the lack of someone as hardworking as my boy. Agriculture requires a lot of hard physical labor, so if those deers are carrying some sort of disease, what is it called? Lyme's disease, then I want them gone before I get in my whole family.
Anything else you would like to say, partner?
Well, actually, yes, the multitude of deer that have caused a majority of problems involving my crops, complexion, and natural well-being. For you see, in these day and age, pesticides are a cheap and efficient tool for farmers. For you see that they not only kill an abundance of weeds that terrorize my crops, but they also kill any living organisms that try to eat my crops. Because of the deer, our crops, the MDA, the Maryland Department of Agriculture, also known as the MDA, MDA, decided to ban pesticides for certain crops, which has greatly affected our business due to the less productive harvest for animals continuing to eat because of the lack of pesticides. So yes, there is a problem involving the impact of those wretched deer.
Oh, well that was actually... Okay, do you have any closing remarks?
Darn tootin'. I love you, Mama. And remember, medicine's just a ploy for the government to put robots in your brains.
My next opinion comes from an avid hunter from the Maryland region, Sam Bartholomew. Good evening, Mr. Bartholomew. Are you aware of the deer epidemic?
All too aware. I keep myself updated on the deer population constantly. Always want to know when my next hunt may be and where to go find it.
So, what are your opinions on the proposition of reintroducing cougars to the Maryland ecosystem?
Oh, well, I'm all for it. Cougars are just going to create more game for me to hunt. I can only imagine what that pelt may be like on my living room floor. It's not like there will be much competition between me and the cougars for the deer. There are already a lot of deer to hunt, and anyway, there's a bag limit of 1 to 2 deer a hunter can harvest in a season according to the Maryland Guide to Hunting and Trapping.
So, you don't feel that the cougars will impact your livelihood?
Not at all. There will be other game for me to hunt, and the deer will know to flee from these new predators due to the fact that they already have a predator to flee from, me. So there's a low chance of disappearance from the Maryland ecosystem.
Thank you so much, sir, for your input. Have a nice evening, Mr. Bartholomew.
Of course. Wait. You smell that? It's my next hunt.
Now we have Miss Antoinette Granger with the HPHIS.
Yes, hi, my name is Antoinette Granger and I graduated from Harvard, so I know what I'm talking about. Here I will be talking about how the increase in deer population in Maryland area has been affecting Maryland ecosystems and why there is a need for it to be taken care of. Over the past years, the population of deer in Maryland has become, how the kids say, whack. In a study about this trend and how the deer have affected human lifestyle and settlement and other habitats conducted by the United States Department of Agriculture and the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services, it is stated that Increasing deer populations in the urban and suburban areas of DC have resulted in overbrowsing of landscaping and other natural habitats. Now, to put this into lame terms, it means that there are overgrazing on the fields and grass and other vegetation present in our ecosystem. This means that with the loss of these plant organisms, the biodiversity of the ecosystem is at risk. Then, at the same time, the loss of these vegetation takes away from the food resources of other animals that eat these organisms, as well as the habitat for some organisms, which lowers those organisms' environmental fitness, which results in an overall lower biodiversity. This is just an example of how deer are far over the carrying capacity of its ecosystem and negatively affecting its surroundings. Now, this would mean that an action must be taken, right? So the solution would be to reintroduce the cougars, but how would they help? What benefits will they bring? Well, if you refer to this graph that I have created because I am so smart, you can see that the projected populations of the deer and cougars after the cougars would be introduced. You can observe a rising and falling pattern, and that is for a reason. If the cougars were to be reintroduced, the two would even each other out population-wise. When the cougars are present once again, the deer population will drop due to the fact that they will be hunted, and the cougar population will rise, as you can see indicated by the red line, because their environmental fitness will rise because they're able to populate due to high amounts of prey. Then, because the deer population has dropped, the cougar population will begin to decrease because there's not enough prey to sustain a larger amount of cougars. Then, because there are not as many cougars to be hunting them, the deer population will begin to rise once again. And this trend will continue over the years as the two species are able to coexist. Now, this graph is a direct representation of why the cougars could return to their original status as opposed to taking it even further for normal. But there are some individuals who are against this change due to their own personal, uneducated, foolish reasons. But also there is one major factor that would create fiction against this project. The Wilderness Act passed in 1964 by the U.S. government is an act protecting wildlife in the U.S. The bill defines wilderness as follows. A wilderness, in contrast with those areas that a man works his own dominate the landscape, is hereby recognized as an area where the earth and its community are left untrammeled by man, where man himself is his visitor who does not remain. So obviously this definition would prevent man from interfering with the Maryland ecosystems, but I think in this way it could be overruled, because the problem was in fact created by man. Man overhunted the cougars, causing them to disappear from Maryland ecosystems, so it is only just that the man would find a way to correct its error and repair the Maryland ecosystems and restore its biodiversity.